jungle. I can't be at home in the streets. I learned how to sail, how to steer from trouble before I wore shoes on my feet. So give me a hand with my trailer. Give me a hook on a line. Send me straight back to that place on the map where the blue ain't just paint on a sign. No, my skin don't feel strong in a long sleeve jumper. My face wasn't meant for the dark. I need wind in my hair and a saltwater shower for my body to work with my heart. So give me a hand with my trailer. Give me a hook on a line. Send me straight back to that place on the map where the blue ain't just paint on a side. No, my mind ain't just stuck in a small town daydream. It's my veins, my blood, pardon me. I'm no lawyer, no cook, not a star in a movie, a sailor who longs for the sea. So give me a hand with my trailer. Give me a hook on a line. Send me straight back to that place on the map where the blue ain't just paint on a sign. Give me a hand with my trailer. Give me a hook on a line. Send me straight back to that place on the map where the blue ain't just paint on a sign. Where the blue ain't just paint on a sign. Just doing a little bit of multitasking here. Thank you so much for that introduction. It makes me sound a lot cooler than I really am. I unfortunately wasn't able to make all the seminars this morning, but I can imagine what I'm going to talk about here will be a slight bit different to what you've heard already. I'm certainly not a scientist, as much as I would really love to be. I work with that sort of left side of my brain all the time. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and I suppose how the ocean has influenced my life. Basically, I was born, and then I was put on a boat, and I have a slideshow, but it's not working yet. Oh, there we go. That's me. My dad was a really successful sailor in his time, as was my grandfather. My father in 1974 won the New Zealand Yachtsman of the Year, and so therefore he married my mum, and he had me and my sister, and by the time I was 7 years old, supposedly when school was deemed to be not that important, he moved us onto a boat, and we lived in the Mediterranean, which a little bit more tropical than the Hauraki Gulf, I'm sure you can appreciate. So basically my first introduction to songwriting was when I was 7. As you can imagine, there wasn't a whole lot to do living on board a boat as a 7-year-old, so I started to write. And I wrote my first song about a dolphin. I was very obsessed with dolphins. I would often write them letters asking them if I could please come with them and I would roll them up on bits of paper and put them into bottles and throw them into the sea, which I now know is completely inappropriate and pollution. Anyways, we loved our life living on the sea, but as you can imagine, as we got a bit older, education and actually having some friends became really important. So we moved back to New Zealand, and we ended up living in Mangawhai. Funnily enough, I tried my best to do everything I could to kind of keep the ocean a really huge part of my life. I suppose for me it was really my home and the place I felt most safe. And the first thing I did was obviously learn how to sail. And even though living in Mangawhai, I joined the Kohimarama Yacht Club, which was a nice big drive. But we'd go in there in the weekends and I would learn how to race sailboats. And I was very lucky because my father was around to teach us to get out there on the dinghies and show us how to race. So it was a wonderful time. It was also the time where I found out that I have really terrible eyesight. I don't know if you know much about sailing, but I was trialling this race one day and my dad sort of yelled out, "Just head a bit further towards the top mark." And I remember responding with, "What top mark?" And then I got glasses and kind of got out of sailing a bit. The next thing I decided to do was get my scuba diving license, which I got at the age of 14, which I think is maybe the youngest you can get it, possibly younger now. But this was really an ideal scenario for me because I'd lived, on the sea a lot of my life, but I was really intrigued to kind of learn a bit more about what was underneath. And me and my family used to do the majority of our diving out at Kowau. And I remember doing my very first scallop dive with my mum. There were just scallops everywhere. And we'd been down there for a long time and I was getting a bit cold and a bit over it. And the visibility was really bad. And finally I was relieved to see the anchor chain, sticking up diagonally in the distance, and I reached out to grab it to find that it was actually a rather large stingray barb. Thankfully, the stingray was more frightened of me and swam away, so I've still got my hand. Then from then on, I got a bit older, and the next ocean activity to tick off on my list was becoming a surf lifeguard. And I think this was a really monumental time in my life because as a young teenage girl, I learnt a lot of really different perspectives. My mindset was never around how good I looked in my selfies or what I was going to wear to mufti day. Instead, I was dealing with, more often than not, life and death situations. And my value as a person was judged on how fast I could swim or how much of a leader I was or what my first aid skills were like. So I'm really appreciative of that time. So amongst all of this stuff and learning how to be the best ocean lady ever, I was writing music. I was writing lots of songs, sometimes about the ocean, often about, more hard-hitting topics like boys I had crushes on or teachers that I didn't really like. And I got to the point where I wrote this song about just appreciating the things I had in my life that for the time was music and the ocean and not caring what anybody else thought. And long story short, I got signed on to a record deal and we released this song and it kind of blew up. It ended up on all the radio stations and was getting played all the time, that annoying song you'd hear in BP, which made you hate BP even more. And I kind of was this young girl that was sort of thrust into this platform and found I had this fan base that was starting to grow, this following. Hundreds of thousands of people were watching my videos and listening to me and doing the likes on the Instagrams and the Facebook, and it was all kind of spiraling out of control. And
for me, this was a really, really confusing time. As a young girl, on one hand, I knew I loved the ocean. On the other hand, I loved music, and I'd been given this awesome opportunity to have a voice. But I didn't really see it like that yet. And then other things started to happen. Like, I started to notice the ocean changing. Things like going diving and noticing that there were more kinna than crayfish, or finding things like, finding things like plastic on the beach, and I became really frustrated. And so I decided that I was going to give up my music career and become a marine biologist, because that seemed like the right thing to do. So I went to the university and I said, look, I'm an artist, I'm a writer. How can I use my creativity to help you guys and become a scientist? And basically they said that's not really going to help us. And I was like, that's fair enough. So I walked away from that pretty quickly. And then I thought, okay, cool, well, politics, right. That's what I'll do. I'll do like a law degree or get involved in politics and actually have a really practical say and make a difference in society. And went to a few meetings with the university there and just really couldn't get hold of the jargon. And so I was feeling a little bit at a loss. But, as things happened, I was reading the newspaper and I came across an article about the Mangawhai dolphins and them becoming extinct. And for some reason it stuck in my head. And so I wrote a song. I wrote a song called Without a Voice. And I popped that up on YouTube, and it started to spread. People were watching it. The message was getting out. And funnily enough, I got this email invitation to go and attend an Auckland Council meeting regarding the Mangawhai dolphins and their protection. Of course, not to speak, but to sing. And I'm going to play you this song now. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, so I don't love it, but I am going to play it. Oh, here you go. Here's the newspaper article. Woohoo! This is going well.
I read the news today. I found something that reminded me of the games we play to get ahead in the wrong way. And it's strange to me to act like what we have isn't worth enough to keep it safe. And these people with their words say they care about the world when it doesn't really matter anyways. 'Cause they're taking what we have and forgetting that the past taught us freedom lies in what we give away. Give a little love now and try to understand we could lose out. If we can't learn to use our hands, we could come together, 'cause we have the choice to be saving those without a voice. I had to turn the page when I think of how it used to be. Now our values change with our minds on the economy, and it's clear to me that I can't save the day, but I can believe in trying my own way. And these people with their words say they care about the world, but it doesn't really matter anyways. 'Cause they're taking what we have and forgetting that the past taught us freedom lies in what we give away. Give a little love now and try to take a chance, or we could lose out. If we can learn to use our hands, we could come together, 'cause we have the choice to be saving those without a voice. And there's no reason why we have to play in a small stadium of doubt and shame. And we all know how much we love this place, so help me to give a little love now and try to make a change. We could lose out if we can learn to use our hands. We could come together, 'cause we have the choice to be saving those without a voice, those without a voice.
Thank you very much. So that's my contribution to science. So as you can see, my kind of message here is that I had to really figure out that I didn't have to try and be something that I wasn't to make a difference or make people listen. And I suppose what I've been trying to do is encourage other young people to really have a think about what it is their skill set is, and how they can kind of use that to make positive change. And I suppose, in brief, I've done that both in writing music, but also these days in developing a bit more of a social platform, and getting people into the studio to also write songs about the ocean. That was the costume I wore to the New Zealand Music Awards. Talking about various things in plastic pollution, holding beach cleanups, building kayaks out of plastic bottles, which is cool. I would probably not recommend it though. And kind of at the base of it, just getting young girls involved in ocean activities and kind of helping them develop their own passion and love for it, just the same way I did. But yeah, thank you guys very much for being so kind and attentive and listening to me. I know I haven't really given you anything factual, but hopefully at the very least you like listening to some music. Thank you very much.